to the NFC North. I'm coming at you, Emery. I'm coming. Cut Emery's mic. All right, here we go. NFC North. This is still you, Rick. You're going to give us your best pick. Let's start with the Chicago Bears, who had an interesting first round. We talked about that last night on With the First Pick podcast. They traded down, took Darnell Wright, had an opportunity to get Jalen Carter, ended up getting Jervon Dexter later. Curious, but maybe it works out for them. We'll find out. But in terms of what happened here on day 3, what's your best pick of this entire draft class?
Yeah, well, when you look at what they definitely needed a new right tackle. And Darnell Wright is probably the most physical out of all these offensive linemen that went early in the first round. He had a great game against Will Anderson, shut him out in pass protection. When he was on the left side, I had him as a Saturday pick. When you watched him in 21, moved over to the right side, and he ends up being a top 10 pick. I think he's going to be a day 1 starter when he comes in. I thought they may have looked at left tackle, but Braxton Jones, who they drafted last year in the 5th round, ended up being a pleasant surprise. But this kid's going to be a tone setter up front for them.
I talked to a team that thought that maybe Darnell Wright had an opportunity to play left tackle at the next level. And although he didn't do great in that position in 2021, he has gotten better and older. So we'll see what the Bears end up doing. Either way, it's a great pick, even if they had to trade down and pass on Jalen Carter. Emery, I'm going to come to you first because we're going to talk with Rick's hidden gem here, and Rick will get your thoughts in a second. This is one of my favorite players. I love this guy going back to the fall. We talked about him last night, in fact. Roschon Johnson, the running back out of Texas. Why do you like him?
So versatile, man. And here's the thing. I'm not an advocate for taking your best player off the field, but when you think about the fact that he came into Texas as a quarterback and now you're opening up your playbook inside the high red zone, low red zone, some wildcat situations, Roschon Johnson can do it all. He can run the ball, he can catch, he can block and pass pro, and does a great job as a kickoff and punt returner if he's asked to play special team, which he does well.
So, Rick, maybe it was too rich obviously for the Bears' blood and other teams, and maybe even for you, but I had him as a late second rounder. I liked him that much. Is 4th round feel about right, or should he gone earlier?
No, I thought he was a Friday talent. So,
okay.
But I know you've been crowing about him ever since I met you back. Yeah.
But he's on your list.
He made the list.
That's right.
And I watched him, and when you think of monsters of the Midway, you think of this type player. November, December, when it's cold, rainy, snowy, give this monster the ball, and he's going to churn out yards for you. And he's the type of back that the more touches he gets, the better he's going to wear defenses down. So he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to help you on special teams. Like you said, they use him as a kickoff returner, and I think he's just a safe kickoff returner. But this kid's going to be a very good football player. Montgomery signed with the Detroit Lions, so they needed another back that can ground and pound, and this guy fits that bill.
All right, let's now move to the favorites to win the NFC North. Your Detroit Lions, that's right. They had I've been saying this a lot, but they really did have a phenomenal draft. And I'm going to tell you why, Rick. Colby Sorsdahl, shout out to the offensive lineman from William & Mary. That was a fantastic pick. Might end up being a Hall of Famer. I'm very happy for that young man. Shout out to the tribe. Rick, let's go with he didn't make your best pick somehow.
Did you go to school there?
I may have.
Did you play sports?
I did play baseball. Was not very good. That's why I'm sitting here with you. You were a straight line guy. I was a no hit, no field middle infielder.
Yeah, okay.
And that's how you end up here.
What the hell happened to you, Emery?
I was the slowest, most injury-prone running back in University of Louisiana.
They put together an all-star team today, didn't they?
We're good to go here.
Look, we ain't even winning the 3-on-3 basketball tournament with our coworkers. So
Not at all.
We got a lot of work to do. So Sorsdahl didn't make your best pick for the Detroit Lions. Tell us who did.
Yeah, Sam Laporta. And I think he is probably and may be the best tight end out of this class before it's said and done. I talked to a lot of people out there. Some even think he's a poor man's George Kittle. This is a tough, aggressive football player, loves the block. He needs to get a little stronger. Underrated as a pass catcher and underrated as an athlete after he makes the catch and get it upfield. And I know he had a great combine. He had a great pro day. He ascended through this whole pre-draft process. And he didn't get a lot of balls. I mean, he was an expert on out routes because that's the only thing the quarterback can throw there. But he can catch an out route. But I think he's going to be more than just an out route catcher. And I think it's going to get Jared Goff another weapon. And he's going to replace Hawkinson.
And that's the thing you have to remember when you're evaluating these players. I'm talking primarily to myself. When they're playing in a bad offense, it's sometimes hard to get an idea of who they may be. And you have to be able to project that and figure that out.
They beat South Dakota State 6-3. That's horrible.
Yeah. On a lot of levels. That's like if we were playing for Iowa, we might be their best players, even though we're limited athletically, as Rick likes to say. Rick, what do I need to work on?
Everything.
My degree. My degree is the answer.
Oh yeah, my degree. I use that up there in the green room.
All right, what's your hidden gem for the Lions? And they have a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I thought they did a great job, and I can't remember if you or Pete gave me this little nugget to look at this lad. The defensive tackle, Broderick Martin, out of Western Kentucky. He is a giant of a man, and when you watch him on tape, he cannot be moved off at the point. He needs to get his pads down a little level, especially when he's going to play at this level, but he's strong, he's athletic enough to separate, locate the ball, and he's not going to be a dominant pass rusher. He's more of a two-down nose, but when he gets an opportunity to play, and they struggled on defense last year, Aaron Glenn's defense, they like a lot of big two-gap nose-type tackles up there, and I think he's definitely going to help solidify the run defense for him.
Along with Akeem the Dream McNeil, they got at NC State a few
Yeah.
years ago. All right, let's go to Green Bay and the Packers, who are going to be for the first time in a long time without Brett Favre and/or Aaron Rodgers. And have they done things to help youngish quarterback Jordan Love? Let's start with your favorite pick, Rick. Is it an offensive help, or are we going to the other side of the ball?
I'm going defense. I'm going to go with the Packer theme.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
There was no way they're going to take an offensive player in the first round. And the guy I like is a football player. I should say Love is a football player. It's amazing how many Iowa guys came out, yet they didn't play as well as you thought.
Right.
But Lucas Van Ness, he's going to give them everything they want. He's a multi-position player, hasn't nearly reached how good he's going to be as an NFL prospect. He's another one that when you went through the process, he blew out the combine. He had a phenomenal pro day. He can play defensive end. You see him inside, play defensive tackle. Gary is coming off an ACL and getting a little older. So I think when we interviewed him, and I had an opportunity to talk with him with you on the before the draft, he said most teams looked at him as a defensive end because there was some question on, do you put him 300 pounds on him and move him inside, or do you keep him out at end? Everybody that he said he talked to is going to keep him at defensive end. He even played from a 2-point, so he's got a lot of position flexibility, a lot of versatility. Everybody's knocking him a little bit because he didn't start down at Iowa, but he has the highest ceiling out of any of these young guys coming out early in the draft from the defensive standpoint.
He'll be playing in the NFC. He also told us he couldn't wait to face Patrick Mahomes, so they may have to come to the Super Bowl. So be careful what you ask for, I guess, but we'll all find out together.
Do you remember who he said he went up against in high school that opened his eyes for the first time?
So in high school, he faced Peter Skoronski, and he said Peter Skoronski taught him some very valuable lessons early on in his football career. Peter Skoronski ended up going to the Titans in the first round. He's going to be day one starter as well along the offensive line. That's 21 straight drafts that the Packers have not selected a running back, wide receiver, or tight end in the first round. But, Rick, they have a track record in round two of getting some wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, and Randall Cobb among them. Who do you like as your hidden gem going to Green Bay?
Yeah, I love this slot receiver, Jalen Reed, and he's out of Michigan State. He's going to be a slot. He's an explosive playmaker underneath. Reminded me a little bit about Randall Cobb and that type of athlete. He can make plays after the catch. He made some highlight catches down the field, even though he's a small target. The biggest thing I really liked about him, he's going to give them some return ability as well. So when you can get these smaller slots that can also help you in a return game and give you some explosive. Now let's take a look at what Green Bay has done. They got two young receivers, right? Dobbs and Watson from last year.
Yep.
They just drafted, not Laporta.
They got Musgrave and Kraft.
Yeah, Musgrave and Kraft.
Yep.
Now they got a slot receiver. They're all going to grow together with Jordan Love. So this is like a reset, but a lot of very talented football players on the offensive side of the ball to grow together.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, are you looking and saying, wait a second, what are you doing fixing the offense now that
Aaron Rodgers didn't want to play with all the young guys. He wanted all his old guys.
All right.
Fair enough.
He might still be asking questions, I would imagine. All right, let's go to Minnesota Vikings, a team that Rick has some experience with. And again, they hit some home runs here to help out that offense, especially at the top. Who was your favorite pick in this draft class?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with their first-round pick, Jordan Addison. He is the most explosive route runner in this year's draft. Reminded me a lot of Devontae Smith when I saw him coming out. Ran the same, about the same size. They lost Adam Thielen. He was a cap casualty. KJ Osborne is a very good third receiver, but they don't have a number two. Justin Jefferson, He's going to get a lot of double teams, so this kid's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. He's going to make an immediate impact for that offense.
The 7th Vikings wide receiver drafted in the first round since 1998. That's the most in the NFL over that span. I can name Laquan Treadwell and Justin Jefferson. Did any come to mind immediately you took in the first round, wide receiver-wise, or is that it for you?
I think those were the two.
Okay, so they came before you got there. I think Randy Moss, I think he had a pretty good career, if I remember correctly, when he was drafted. I believe was he a rookie in 1998, is that right?
98, yeah.
Yep, I knew you would know him. All right, let's go to your hidden gem for this Minnesota Vikings football team. There's a lot to choose from here. Maybe you're going with my guy, Jaron Hall, who I like coming out of BYU?
No.
Okay, who you got?
Yeah, we had to turn this in. The producer said we had to turn this in because there were a couple of hidden gems. I love the kid from the running back from UAB. I thought that was a great find. But I went with Jay Ward at the time. And Jay Ward is another one of those multi-positional defensive backs. He's played some nick. I think he's going to end up being a free safety. What sticks out to me the most about him is his instincts and awareness in zone coverage. He's good enough to come up. He's not afraid to hit. I think he plays with a lot of savvy, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to play multi-positions and be a very good, solid backup and special team player for him.
Again, this is a pretty solid draft from start to finish. I thought Mekhi Becton, might have been drafted a little too high, but we'll find out. That's the whole point of the draft process. All right, Rick, you're still on the clock here before we get to Emory.